welcome to Bathurst Mount Panorama, and welcome to the final round of the World Sim Series GT3 Team Challenge. This beautiful track in North South Wales, Australia, is steeped in motorsport history. The Bathurst 1000 and the Bathurst 12 Hours are incredible races that take place around this magical circuit. It is a street circuit, if you can call it that, and up and down the mountain as the cars come. Those are very, very tricky parts with even a slight lapse in concentration leading you into the wall. This is what the track looks like. Through Hell Corner, they'll come the left-hander at turn 1, then the right-hander at Quarry Bend. That's a bit of a banked turn, and then they go up the mountain through McPhillamy Park, down Skyline, down through the Dipper, and through Elbow. They'll come on to the back straight, through the Chase, and completing the lap. It's a very, very different lap. If you split it up by sectors, you've got the first sector and the final sector being quite long and straight, and then the middle sector being tight and twisty up the mountain. As always, I'm joined by Lorinas.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the very final of the GT3 Team Championship on the World Sim Series platform. Looks like it's basically obvious and clear who will clinch the title. That's Shaun Clarke Racing. They are currently well ahead in the lead with 98 points in total, 72 points currently in the back, in the pocket of the Beaver Grease Racing team, and Shaun Clarke Racing GT4 team are currently second with 50 points in total. I had to double check the name of the team, but I believe it was maybe it was changed during one of the special events we had in the past couple of months. Now I'm looking at the entries of today's race, and I have to double check, but we don't have the current championship leaders aboard in this race. I think there is one race which is not calculated. The championship consists of 6 rounds, but only 5 best race results, round results, go towards the championship standings. So that means no Shaun Clarke Racing with Simonas Urbonas behind the wheel this evening. During this event, and in this qualifying session we have a nice battle happening so far. It's a long circuit, and any smallest, tiniest mistake can change your result, but Taurus Tunila currently setting the pace in the qualifying session. Kristinani was leading the qualifying session for quite a while, and with 1 minute and 50 seconds on the clock, Taurus Tunila took the provisional pole, and he's actually still on the track, still pushing hard, and he's currently 2/10 up his personal fastest lap time. 6 drivers fit within half a second, and then there is a slightly bigger gap between the leading cars. And looking at the drivers at the back of the field, we have some of them 5.5 seconds off the pace. That's going to be a tough race. It's 1 hour race with 1 mandatory pit stop. Taurus Tunila just slides through the corners, misses all his advantage. Almost scrubbing the wall. Definitely there are no paint left on the right side mirror, and that's a wrap up. So he made too many mistakes, but good news for Taurus Tunila. Kristinani is also a little bit on the back foot. He's 1/10 slower than his personal fastest lap time, so maybe he will nail the chase section and Murray's corner. He still has some time, but well, 2/10 down his personal fastest lap time. That doesn't seem to be very fast. One of the drivers who looks really fast in the Aston Martin Vantage GT3, that's Gediminas Krištolaitis. He's currently really up the pace. All of the drivers on the exit of the Forest Elbow corner, they almost scratch the concrete. Gediminas Krištolaitis.
That's what happens here at Bathurst. You gain confidence all the way through your qualifying lap. You're gaining confidence, and then at the end, hopefully, you can set a time worthy of pole position.
That's gonna be tight. I can tell you one thing, Gediminas Krikštolaitis right on par with Tauras Neil. He just lost a little bit in the chase. He's still slightly faster than his personal fastest lap time, but it looks like he lost all of it. He was half a second up of the pace at once, and
into the wall.
yeah, he sent it straight into the wall, and that means Gediminas Krikštolaitis stays 5th at the best in this session. There are a couple of drivers that are still slightly faster than their personal fastest lap times, but I believe Gediminas Krikštolaitis, he's only 2/10 down of the quali pace, so he's pretty safe. But that means that we might see a different scenario in the race, because there are some drivers that, well, they didn't nail their fastest lap times in the qualifying session. That means that we might see some different results during the race. As usual in this GT3 Team Championship on the World Sim Series platform, Gustas Malakauskas just crossed the line and he didn't go faster. We have 4 drivers still on the track. I'm not sure if car number 19 is on a fast lap. That's Mary Ballars. He's right at the beginning of the circuit, of the lap. Alex Leaf crosses the line. He stays 9th. And a couple of other drivers still racing. Dave Partronics. We get the info that the session has come to an end. Still some drivers on the racetrack getting back into the pit lane. And yep, that's a wrap up. We join the track and start our gridding procedure. So we should shortly see the starting results. There's our grid walk. Tauras Tonila on pole position. Chrissy Nani 2nd. Oh yeah.
With Gustas Malakauskas sitting in 3rd. The top 3 separated by just under 2/10 of a second. Stevenas Katkus takes P4 in the Porsche. It's 3 manufacturers, by the way, in the top 3. 5th is for Gediminas Krikštolaitis. 6th for Matas Mickevičius in the BMW. Highest placed Bentley by Miguel Silverio in 7th. 8th place for Stefano Scuma in the Ferrari. 9th will go to Alex Leaf in the Mercedes AMG. 10th for Justinas Lukas in the Porsche. 11th for Paulo Teles in the Aston Martin. Dave Sparktronics will take 12th spot in the Ferrari. Jan Bruri in 13th with the Ferrari. 14th for Maxime Jordi in another Ferrari, and then another Ferrari of Marini lining up in 15th spot. He's 2.4, I believe, down from pole position. Mantas Samulanis in the McLaren starting down in 16th. Meri Balash in 17th in the Ferrari. Mantas Kopknas in 18th in another one of the Ferraris. And rounding out the grid will be the McLaren of Jonas Getsevicius.
And the cars have started rolling on to the warm-up lap, which is gonna be a long one, but the drivers will have a nice time and space to warm up not only the tires but also the brakes, and they need to prepare the cars as good as they can for what will be the final start of this championship. Don't forget that we don't have Shaun Clarke racing the leading team in this race, but we do have Beaver Grease. Do we have Beaver Grease this evening? It's really hard. Yep, we do. Yeah, that's Gediminas Krikštolaitis. He's the Beaver Grease racing team driver. It's sometimes confusing to look at the names of the teams because we only see them on the World Sim Series platform itself and the tools that we use to follow up with the race and the results. Well, we only get the driver names, so we know the cars, we know the names of the drivers, but sometimes we can kind of not recognize the name of the teams. Well, of course, if you're Tauras Tonila at the very front of the pack and drive a car which is a virtual copy of the real car that the Dream to Drive team currently owns. Of course, this is a
Well, not
GT3 car, and
yeah.
they own a GT3 Cup car, but well, it's still a 911, 992 body. They are completely different cars, but still you can paint them the same, while basically the body is the same, just the aero kit differs. Maybe, well, of course,
And
there
the
are a lot of...
chassis.
Yeah, but yeah,
And the
there's
engine a
more
little bit.
more
And the
differences.
gearbox.
Yeah, but
And the electronic.
but for an unexperienced eye, I'm pretty sure it would be really difficult to separate
If you
these two
look
cars.
at about a kilometer away, they look like the same car. So from the heli shot, they'll look pretty similar.
Identical, you don't say. But the livery. Well, the main point is that the livery of the car that Toros Tunila drives in this championships is in this championship is totally the same as they have on the real car. So you never forget what car is it. Do we have a lag, or what's happening with Chrissy Nani and Toros Tunila sometimes swapping places and going through each other? I know ACC has the ghost car system on the warm-up lap. Still kind of interesting to see these two cars jumping in front of each other at times. Was this lag, or are the drivers just playing games here?
Playing games, maybe want to get going quicker. It is an hour-long race, so with a mandatory pit stop, where you do have to change tires. Really working the tires in the Porsche is Toros Tunila, trying to get them up to temperature, trying to build brake temperature as well.
Yep, so we have a Porsche, BMW, and then a couple of Aston Martins. Oh man, the drivers are playing real games right now. Is this allowed? We have race control who are looking at the track at this very moment. I wouldn't like what I see on my screens. It's basically the final corner and the drivers are still messing around, swapping positions. Now they kind of line up to make the two-row starting grid. Two-column starting grid.
2 by 2 as they come to the line. Hell corner awaits them for turn 1, and the final round of the GT3 Team Championship is go. And it looked like maybe the car in second jump started at least a little bit, but through turn 1 they come. Still side by side with Toros Tunila is Nani, but we'll see if there's a penalty involved for that, because it looked from the heli shot like he was just a little bit in front as they headed towards the line. Now Porsche to the inside, BMW to the outside. Nani trying to get trying to be later on the anchor. Somebody goes very wide. Big dive in to Quarry Bend. Now to the left, through the cutting they come for the first time of many tonight, and looks to be relatively clean. Difficult to make a move there. We've seen a BMW ride the concrete wall on the side in the real 12-hour race. This is an hour race here, but still, we've seen a BMW ride that concrete wall like a skateboard. Through McPhillips Park they've come, and now onto Skyline. You dip down, don't see anything. This is a view from the back of Toros Tunila, and down Skyline they come, and into the Dipper they go, and into Forest's Elbow. Now they break one of the more difficult braking zones around this track. You're trying to get as close to the wall without clipping it as possible on the exit. Now you have some time to rest through Condor Straight, and on to the chase they come. This is easily flat out in the GT3 cars. It'll be a bit more difficult in the V8 supercars as they head through the right-hander. This is a chance now for Krikstolaitis to make a move, but holds on for the time being.
Well, he was fast in his qualifying lap on all of the circuit, and he made a mistake on the chase corner and especially in the Murray's corner. That's the final corner on the track, so maybe he just tries to stick and feel the track a little bit better during the race. He didn't make any moves, but he was fast and he was on provisional pole during his final attempt in the qualifying session. That means he's fast, and we had only a qualifying session where the cars had to make one fast lap. This is a race with different setups, and we might see the cars at different paces on different stages of this one, and I really I'm eager to see how these Aston Martins will do in the further hour of this one, because I don't remember and I don't recall anyone using Aston Martin Vantage GT3 car in this championship so far. So there has to be something in the background why the drivers chose this car. Maybe of its size, it looks to be a little bit smaller than the other GT3s, and that should make a nice car to drive around this very tight track located in Australia.
A car that's more comfortable, because you need to be one with the car if you want to go fast around Bathurst. Oh, that was tight. Looked like the rear snapped just a little bit heading down the mountain. Through Forest Elbow they come one more time and on to the Condor.
So far so good, everyone is lining into one equal line. Matas Mickevičius, he's currently 7th, and then there is a bigger gap between himself and Alex Leaf, who is running 8th. Mantas Simulionis is looking into the back end of the car that Alex Leaf is currently driving. There you could see in the background there's a pretty small gap between that's actually Stefano Schuma and Mantas Simulionis in the background, the two drivers who are currently battling for position number 9.
Yep, the only Bentley in the field, another big machine. To the inside comes the McLaren on the Ferrari and gets the move done.
That looked easy. I wonder if Stefano Schuma made a mistake into the final corner, which allowed Mantas Simulionis to make that move seem pretty easily achieved, or just simply Mantas Simulionis couldn't put a fast lap in the qualifying session together.
It's not an easy track to put a time together, but drivers trying their best. It will be a race very much of survival. Dave Sparktronics and Telus in the pit lane, so probably race over for them. Torostinila continues to hold the lead, but not by much.
I try to remember the last race. There were a couple of races in between, but some flashbacks come into my mind that Torostinila lost that race to... Was that Simonas Urbonas? Because Torostinila was leading the previous race at the very beginning of it. And then... during the pit stops, I believe he lost the biggest amount of time, so he was unable to hold it to the position for the whole race. He has got the second chance.
Yep, good chance to win, as well. Leading at the front of the field at Bathurst is nice. Don't have any cars in front of you. You can have a pretty clean race. Telus, by the way, back on to the circuit. He's just a little bit ahead of the chasing pack. Well, chasing to put Telus a lap down. So they'll come up to traffic quite early on. Telus just flashed by your screen, but Torostinila holding on to the lead for the time being in the Porsche. But Nani actually not letting up. Fastest lap last time round by him.
Well, Nani was pretty fast in the qualifying session, and the biggest battle between the drivers for the pole position seemed to be between Tauras Tunila and Nani. Of course, we have Gediminas Krištolaitis is currently still fourth, bit behind Steven Askatkos. He was also fast on his final attempt, but that means that, well, the pace is pretty similar between the drivers, and it will leave maybe for the managing of the race how good the drivers will be able to manage the tires and the car during the race. That's gonna give the edge for the best driver overall. Steven Askatkos currently third, and it looks like he's right in the way of Gediminas Krištolaitis and Gustas Malakauskas. That would give me a thought. That would well, I'd say that the Aston Martins look really strong this afternoon on the Mount Panorama circuit. I'm eager to see how that is going to change in the longer distance. But for now, I think that if Gediminas Krištolaitis would have the chance to overtake Steven Askatkos, who's currently not making any mistakes, he maybe could get himself closer to the battle for the overall lead of this one. And the fastest sector currently goes to Gediminas Krištolaitis. The fastest second sector is in the hands of Tauras Tunila. Someone has made a faster first sector. So you can see the comparison of the previous laps between Tauras Tunila and Gediminas Krištolaitis. And don't forget that Gediminas Krištolaitis doesn't have a clear track ahead of him. So if he would...
Interesting that... oh no, I was reading the table wrong. I was gonna say very interesting that Gediminas Krištolaitis losing in the final sector, but it's actually the opposite. So yeah, everything makes sense.
Yep.
Gediminas Krištolaitis trying to overtake Steven Askatkos somehow, but it's not easy. Really have to wait now, side by side through McPhillamy Park. This is
Mickevičius
and Silverio, and down Skyline they come. That was a brave move to the inside. Didn't happen, but that was kind of expected. That's not a place you make a move often.
Jonas Getsevičius, he has just had an accident. Maybe we have a replay for that because he's in the pit lane, and that's way too early. This is the moment he went back to the pit lane.
You can see there's quite a bit of damage on the front, so maybe just clipping some wall somewhere.
Yep, this is another replay. Yep, straight into the wall off of it, and that has just sent him straight into the pit lane, and pretty much the race over. Back to the battle between Matas Mickevičius and Miguel Silverio. Into the final corner, Matas Mickevičius was looking into it, but he decided to get back into the ideal racing line and maybe try to pull out a move a little bit later. That's not the track where you can make moves easily. In other words, it's not that difficult to defend your position. You just have to avoid mistakes, especially on the entries into the corner. Don't brake too late, hit those apexes, and you're pretty much safe. Easier said than done, because if you have a rival sitting on your tail for at least a couple of laps, that's really easy to make those mistakes happen. But for now, Miguel Silverio and Steven Askatkos, both drivers who are under pressure for 10 minutes in this race, they're doing good. They still are able to keep off their rivals, though it doesn't look that easy. 2:10 separating Miguel Silverio and Matas Mickevičius, identical distance between Steven Askatkos and Gediminas Krištolaitis, and also Nani is right on the tail of Tauras Tunila, even though Tauras Tunila is able to put those fastest lap times. But it looks like Nani is he's on pace, and he's not ready to finish second. He wants all of it, so he'll be there, and right now I think patience is key, because we will have those pit stops. We have strategy. You always can use different strategy from your rival, because
Chrissy Nani and Toros Tunila side by side, I think, because the gap was tiny. Well, Chrissy Nani exploring the grass. I wonder what happened there. I think they had contact.
Yep, they did. They definitely did have a contact, and there's a contact between Gediminas Krištolaitis and Steven
I don't
Katkos.
think there was contact, or was there?
There was. So I think what happened there, Chrissy Nani was running pretty slow, and Steven Katkos was braking, while Gediminas Krištolaitis didn't expect that. We have to go through the replays and try to figure out what happened there. So this is where... Did Chrissy Nani have an accident with the left car? We will have a look at this a little bit later, but yep. So Gediminas Krištolaitis was braking just... Steven Katkos was braking slightly easier because he had a car in front. Oh, even more accidents coming in. We have live stewards working here. Yep, we have a car that's a lap down. Toros Tunila is...
What happened here, right? Because they went side by side at some point, because the positions changed up at the front. So Toros Tunila goes to the inside to make the move on the lap car, but then, oh, that's what happened, because Chrissy Nani, well, Toros Tunila backed out of the move, and then Chrissy Nani kind of, yeah, had to brake, and, well, didn't slow down enough to not hit Toros Tunila.
Yep, this is from on board from Toros Tunila. Still the replay. Just outbrake himself, Chrissy Nani. You can see the scratch on the wing of Toros Tunila. There was nothing he could do, but that gave him a 2.4 seconds lead, and I'm not sure if stewards will definitely love that. Now, Gediminas Krištolaitis up to 3rd, Gustas Malakauskas up to 4th, Stevenas Katkos down to 8th. But I think Gustas Malakauskas is currently in a better position in this race because, well, there was a contact between Gediminas and Stevenas lost quite a lot of places, so race control will definitely have a look at it, and the result of Gediminas Krištolaitis is really on a question mark.
Yeah, I think the stewards will have to have a look at that. So some investigation. This track, well, I wouldn't say incidents don't happen, but they're probably a bit less common with just how difficult it is to actually get close to someone around this place. So incidents a bit less common, so hopefully not that much work for the stewards today.
I believe Manta Samuel.
And that's the commentator's curse, by the way.
Yep.
Because now the stewards will have the biggest amount of work they've ever had.
This is another
so
replay.
Good luck to Tadas, by the way.
Yep.
Because we've just cursed that. We'll see enough incidents that he'll not go to sleep tonight. Oh. Side by side. Oh.
This is a replay. This is a replay.
Replay. Okay, I was like, yeah, I jinxed it. Okay, but that's a replay. But still, some more contact. That was very unnecessary, by the way. That contact was extremely unnecessary because that was just the car moving to the left-hand side and not leaving enough space.
Okay. After all those accidents happening in a very short period of time, looks like we are back on the track racing. Chrissy Nani, he has a bigger gap between himself and Toros Tunila, but that doesn't mean that he's not pushing. On the previous lap time, Chrissy Nani shaved off 4/10 of the lead of Toros Tunila, so the gap is actually becoming smaller. And in 4 minutes of time, the pit window will open. So maybe we will see some different strategies where the drivers will decide to pit earlier rather than later, and try to undercut their rivals. That's Matas Mickevičius and Miguel Silverio. Still, Matas Mickevičius unable to overtake his rival. And this battle continues for 16 minutes already. There is a back marker in front of the drivers, the one who was a victim of Grisinani and Toros Tunila situation. And he'll hope that there will be no problems on the circuit. Not sure why we get those warning signs by the side of these drivers. But they are currently looking.
Do we get them if we have contact with the wall?
I'm not sure. I was never able to figure out why we get those signals, those signs by the names of the drivers. I should take a little bit more time investigating what they mean. I thought it was coming up when the drivers maybe extend the limits of the track, go too wide. But not sure about that. There's another big crash. That's Manta Samulones.
Wonder what happened there, but rejoined safely. Thankfully, there's a car. Oh, somebody off into the wall by themselves, and Manta Samulones as well off into the wall by himself, but I was gonna say didn't touch the wall, but did with the front end, so maybe that car won't be perfectly showroom fresh.
It won't. He's down into P14, and well, he has to stay on the racetrack for at least one more lap, and maybe he will try and go to the pit lane and kind of reset his race from that moment. And we'll try to avoid mistakes. And I think Toros Tunila in the wall, or something happened to our race leader.
Yep.
He's standing by the side of the track, tries to move, gets the car moving. It seemed to me at first like a technical issue. He started moving again, and look at the gap between Matas Mickevičius and Silverio. So Matas Mickevičius, he did also make a mistake. And let's try and take a look at the replay. So this is Toros Tunila. Yep, some issues. So there's definitely an issue. He didn't hit anything. He just stopped.
But actually, Grisinani, we saw him catching up extremely quickly. So wonder what happened there, because Grisinani was catching up and sliding around.
Maybe he just cut the chicane or something, cut a corner, and he had to make a slowdown. Do we have something in ACC?
But that would be just turn 1. I don't think that would happen. Actually, is that damage on the rear? Oh yeah, because from the incident previously with Grisinani, but it looked like Nani was catching up quickly. We'd seen that gap down to about 1.5 seconds from about 2.5 seconds. Maybe something wrong with his hardware.
Yep, something definitely went wrong, but now he's back in racing action. He's on the tail of Miguel Silverio. What can Toros Tunila do? Because Matas Mickevičius, he couldn't do anything. Stefano Shuma and Manta Samulones, they just had another accident? It was separate, but Shuma maybe lost it on his own. So a lot of accidents incoming, and most of them yep, being made by the drivers themselves. That's Grisinani. He tried to avoid him. I think that was Grisinani in the background, the leader of this race. Maybe I'm mistaken, but it looked like so. Yep, indeed. Toros Tunila, did he try to overtake? I think he went for an overtake on Miguel Silverio, and that didn't happen. In front we have an Aston Martin, which is driven by Paolo Telles, I believe, and he's lapped down. He's getting those blue flags and kind of still staying in the way of the drivers. Yep, the leading pack, and that might bunch up the whole field, because Matas Mickevičius, he was further down. Now, Toros Tunila off the track again. Toros Tunila off the track again.
Is he standing again? I think standing still with no real explanation. Car looks fine. Yep.
Some issues for the driver who came here to win this event. That looks really odd.
Think some hardware issues. Something going on.
And Miguel Silverio, he's still behind Paulo Teles. Paulo Teles, he's being waved the blue flag on practically every corner, and he's still kind of on his way and minding his own business. This is a 1 hour race. Are you allowed to hold the position? Do you have to wait until the leading cars overtake you and mind your own business? Shouldn't you kind of give room to the drivers behind, especially if they're battling for position?
Yes, but it's not like they're running right up his tail.
Well, not now, but they were at one point, especially on the uphill and downhill part of the racetrack, which is really tight, and that, well, Silverio, he's definitely furious right now, making mistakes that gave a chance for Matas Mickevičius. He doesn't want to wait no more. Matas Mickevičius side by side with Silverio, and that's Alex Leaf right behind them. So finally, Matas Mickevičius managed to overtake Silverio, who seems to lost it while not being able to make that overtake happen. Well, look at the speed difference of that Bentley and BMW. Matas Mickevičius tries to hold on to the side of Miguel Silverio, and that's how you make a move.
The Bentley has quite a bit of a straight line advantage, and that's, I guess, how it was maybe a bit easier to keep in front. But yeah, finally, now the position changes.
Well, Alex Leaf took the chance and overtook Miguel Silverio on the very same corner. Now we have Steven Assetto. He's right behind Miguel Silverio. Not sure if Steven has some damage from the accident, but he definitely had much more pace. And, well, he was faster than the drivers in front of him until he lost that position. It's going to be an interesting watch to see how Steven Assetto will cope with this situation, being right on the back of Miguel Silverio, but Steven Assetto drives a Porsche, which seems to have the lowest straight line speed, while the Bentley, well, we have already seen how much faster it is on the straight. There's a battle between Alex Leaf and Matas Mickevičius side by side. Looks like that BMW definitely lacks the straight line speed, and well, Matas Mickevičius is kind of losing. Look at the gap between Steven Assetto and Miguel Silverio, so that Porsche is definitely slower down the straights, and that's gonna make the life really difficult for Steven Assetto. He's faster around the corners, but if you don't have the advantage of straight line speed, that's gonna be very difficult. Gustas Malakauskas into the pit lane. Gediminas Krištolaitis is the fastest car on the racetrack.
By the way, the window is open.
Yep, it is.
So any pit stop now actually makes sense.
Paulo Teles, his previous lap time is 2 minutes 2 seconds and 9/10. That's roughly 6/10 slower than the cars behind him, battling for positions. I'm not sure where Paulo Teles lost that lap. I think he was involved in an accident at the opening lap.
If I was Toros Danila, by the way, I'd probably also try and come into the pits now. Put a fresh set of rubber on it and trying to gain some spots, because yeah, overtaking will be difficult. Especially in the port. Oh, a little bit of sliding from Alex Leaf.
Yeah, I'd say overtaking is gonna be really difficult, and Toros Nila has pace. He was leading the race, so he needs those track positions, and that's a good point of view of you. Definitely, if I was Toros Nila, I would really start thinking about a different strategy to just try and undercut the drivers, though he's already 8 seconds off Steven Assetto after those 2 or 3 issues that he already had.
Maybe that rear end damage also playing a part in this, so yeah. I think a pit stop makes sense.
Yep, so maybe at the back of this lap, Toros Danila will enter the pit lane. Not sure what the issues, though, are that the driver is facing. He's not hitting walls, he's not making mistakes, he just has to stop by the side of the track. Maxime Jordi, car number 16, just had an accident on his own. Up a little bit too deep. and you find the wall being too close to the track. Matas Mickevičius, he's into the pit lane. So, yep, the pit stops are coming in, and the drivers, they want those different strategies. Maybe due to the tires, 33 minutes till the end of the race. Tauras Tunila stays on the racetrack, by the way. Chrissy Nanny also in the pit lane. So 2 BMWs, are they too harsh on the tires? Because it looks like those BMWs, they just... both of them went into the pit lane at the very same lap. This is a comparison between Gediminas Krištolaitis and Tauras Tunila. Gediminas, our new race leader, he's currently 15 seconds ahead of Alex Leaf, but Gustas Malakauskas, actually, he was second before he went into the pit lane the earliest. So that's not how big of a gap belongs to Gediminas Krištolaitis, and he will still be under investigation. Shame we don't have a table, well, at least I don't have it, to try and see and figure out those race control decisions. If we can get any of those, would be interesting. Paulo Teles, I believe he just hit the wall on himself, and here he was still in front of Alex Leaf, and yep, almost created an accident. So that was really dangerous and unnecessary for Paolo Teles to try and stay in front of the drivers who were faster than him, and 1 lap ahead actually. So he's now down, and Steven Atskatkus right on the tail of Alex Leaf, braking really late, and that's really too late into the chase. And it's going to be a huge time loss rather than win. Almost into the side of Paolo Teles, who decides to take his pit stop of the day. Tauras Tunila also in the background. You can see him coming into the pit lane. So he's still kind of on a different strategy right in the middle of the race.
Has to try something.
Yep.
But Gediminas Krištolaitis now holds the lead. We'll see how long he'll go. He'll probably try and make it to the end of the pit window. I mean, normally you just do opposite of whatever your rival is doing and hope for the best. Close to the wall, so closer you get to the walls, the faster you go, but closer you get to the walls, the more dangerous it gets. So very fine lines always around here at Mount Panorama. Tauras Tunila and Justinas Saldukas, by the way, both into pit lane, so the Dream to Drive crew working overtime down on pit road.
Yep, they will lose quite a lot of places and positions on the racetrack. Is not going the way the Dream to Drive team would have wanted to before entering this race. Still unclear what issues Tauras Tunila is facing. Justinas Saldukas, well, he lacked a little bit of pace. He was in a battle with his rivals, and also mistakes were not avoided. Some accidents made by Justinas Saldukas, and that's Gediminas Krištolaitis into the pit lane. So looks like the cars are really hard on the tires, and the drivers are not extending the stints to the maximum available time to have a very short final pit stop.
Alex Leaf down onto pit road as well.
Yep, Steven Atskatkus, he stays on the track. Yet
He's
to
doing
make a pit stop.
Opposite.
Yep, he needs to do the opposite. Not sure how... if he has good chances in this race. One mistake before, he was hit by Gediminas Krištolaitis, not on purpose, of course, and Gediminas, he was trying to wait for Steven Atskatkus. He wanted to let him through, but, well, Steven Atskatkus, he went a little bit too deep into the corner, and then later in the race, Steven Atskatkus made a mistake by himself. He didn't lost a lot in that situation, but roughly I'd say he lost 4 seconds, and that's not looking good. At at least in the battle for the win in this final round. He still stays on the track, 26 seconds advantage against Ubaldo Marini, who still has to make a pit stop. Alex Leaf, he's in the pit lane and leaving only 2 cars on the racetrack yet to make that pit stop. Sometimes it works with staying out for as long as possible and having a very short final stop. Sometimes it doesn't do the trick.
Has Toros Danila reduced the gap by quite a lot?
He's right on the tail of Miguel
Yep.
Silverio, and well, yeah, he's still doing okay. He was right
We'll
on the
see
tail.
how that move will. I was scared that somebody was going slow, but that's a lap car letting cars through. But we'll see how easy it is for Toros Danila to actually make that move here, because, well, I don't think it will be too easy, considering that he's got that very fast Bentley in front of him. But getting close to the walls, really taking those risks. Nothing else to do for him, actually. And taking the risk makes sense. He has to push, he has to get forward. There's nothing to lose. Yeah.
Steven Assetto stays on the track for yet another lap. He didn't go into the pit lane on this one also.
Makes sense. You do the opposite. If everybody's pitting early, he's gonna try and do it late and see if that works. See that straight line difference. Yeah, maybe Toros Danila closing in just a little bit in the slipstream. But yeah, that's not gonna be super easy for him. Obviously quicker in the turns, Porsche in general, and Toros Danila as well as the pole sitter. So we'll see if he can make any moves into one of the corners. We've seen him very confident on the brakes, especially in that lap 1 battle against Nani, so he's quick. Got his chance, well, one more chance this lap.
He's back in the pit lane.
Okay.
Our recent race leader.
Could it be a penalty for something?
He's standing still, so mostly it's a drive-through. Now he's kind of standing still. Standing stationary. He's going out of the pit lane, so he was stationary for 32 seconds, which seems to be a normal pit stop. Slightly slower than the pit stop of his rivals. Do they get a 30 seconds penalty? Oh, Toros Danila on the move. Oh, he saw the opportunity.
Wow, into Skyline. That's brave, but that's what he said. He has to take the risks. Next car up the road for him, 3.7 seconds. Matas Mickiewicz. And that's a chance at top 5. Steven Assetto down onto pit road.
Yep, Steven Assetto in the pit lane. What a nice move by Toros Danila. He saw the opportunity, he took it, and it worked nicely. I think without the help of Miguel Silverio, it would have been really difficult. This time it worked nice, and the biggest good news for Toros Danila is that he managed to put out that gap really fast, and he was not in the danger of getting passed back by Miguel Silverio on that very long back straight. Steven Assetto, he's still standing. Matas Mickiewicz side by side with Alex Leaf. He was really close. That didn't work out. He had to go back out of it. Think through the chase. They were battling now into first corner. And he had to back out of it. Steven Assetto out of the pit lane in front of Alex Leaf. So this came out pretty nicely for Steven Assetto, who lost quite a lot of positions in that accident. He needs to stay in front on cold tires, right in front of Alex Leaf. I wonder what Alex Leaf will think about. Oh, cameraman just losing those cars and that hot battle in front. Gustas Malakauskas, he's second, 15 seconds ahead of Steven Assetto, so yeah, the problems, the mistakes of Steven Assetto's rivals allowed him to get back out of the pit lane straight into P3. There are back markers on the track. This is really tight. That Ferrari tries to stay out of the way, goes off the track. That's how you deal with the leaders.
That was very extreme, and then has Todos Danila coming. Oh, off the road. Alex Leaf, he made a mistake. He touched the curb on the inside through the left-hander, through McPhillamy Park, and off the road. He's going to have a hard time getting this car back on track. He needs to be careful of the cars behind. Look at that. Touches the curb a bit too much off the road, and then gets on the anchors, and that's why the car spins. Maybe if he had kept his foot in it, maybe he could have gotten out of it, but tried to avoid the damage. Down to P7. Todos Danila just 1 second behind Matas Mickiewicz, and Todos Danila back up into the top 5 after Alex Leaf going off track. So Todos Danila in with a shot at a podium here. 0.8 of a second behind Matas Mickiewicz, who is 1.5 behind Steven Assetto, who obviously held out for that very, very long stint. Well, not very, very long, but the longest stint. We'll see how his pace develops. Obviously has the newest, the fresh, off the, I was going to say off the road, but just making a mistake. Sliding on that outside curb is Matas Mickiewicz, and down into turn 1, Todos Danila. Well, Matas Mickiewicz didn't make it too hard for him. Lifted out of it, and a bit more exploring of the grass on the outside of the circuit, but didn't make it too hard. He kind of understood that Todos Danila is quicker here, and knew that he didn't have to put up too much of a fight.
The second visit to the pit lane by Gediminas Krikštolaitis was definitely a stop-and-go penalty. I can see that now on my system. It was a stop-and-go penalty. Not sure for what exactly. Was that a race control decision, or I'm pretty sure it was definitely an inside penalty system of the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform itself, because usually what we see, how we see the penalties applied that are being handed out by our live race control, they are basically time penalties added to the total time of the drivers after the finish. So this one had to come through by ACC itself. Todos Danila, after that successful overtake, he's still losing a little bit of time to Steven Assetto. The gap is 2 seconds, both drivers on identical manufactured cars, so only the setups can be different on these cars. But they should have similar straight line speed. But Steven Assetto, he's really fast, and especially in race conditions, while he might have been slower in the qualifying session. Not sure how that's gonna be during this race, and even if Todos Danila will be able to catch up with Steven Assetto, only 20 minutes on the clock, quite long laps around the Mount Panorama circuit, meaning that we don't have a lot of laps remaining, and even if he'll be able to catch up with Steven Assetto, it's gonna be really difficult to try and overtake him. Comparison of the previous laps, Steven Assetto lost 2 tenths to Todos Danila, and mostly losing on third sector. Third and second sector. So first sector was faster by Todos Danila. Slower.
No.
First sector was slower by Todos Danila by 1/10, and then he gained roughly 3 tenths in both of the remaining sectors. This is a comparison of previous laps of both of the drivers. We don't see live comparison on this table, so we have to wait until the drivers cross the line.
But gap coming down. Very, very close to the wall. So taking all of the risk he can. 19 minutes to go. So next time by should be about 10 or 9 laps still to go in this one. His lap time's just a little bit over the 2-minute mark. Steven Assetto, by the way, green last time, but look at how much Todos Danila is gaining. Now the gap down to 1.3, and it looked so much cleaner through Forest Elbow. Now under a second, so about 3 tenths gained just through that left-hander. This is the commitment you need around Bathurst Mount Panorama. that's how much time you gain in these on this track. And Toros Tunila continuing to put that gap down very, very slidey through the chase. Well, through the chicane, the chase. I don't know, I still think the right-hander's the chase, the chicane's the chicane, but yeah.
Yep. So the gap down to 1 second. This time, Toros Tunila faster throughout all of the lap, and the most that Steven Askatkus lost was the second sector. Miguel Silverio, he has just came into the pit lane, not sure why. This is also the second visit to the pit lane of Miguel Silverio. Did he receive another penalty? His car doesn't seem to be in one piece. But this is the second time that Miguel Silverio has to go to the pit lane. Maybe he had an accident on the racetrack. It seemed quite nice at the beginning for Miguel Silverio of this race, but it looks like he just lost all of it during the course of this one. It's a very difficult race. Toros Tunila almost into the wall. That's how hard he is pushing. Weaving across the track just to trying to use all the width of the track available to prepare the car for the next corners, clipping the barriers with the rear end of his Porsche. You would basically try and avoid all those contacts with that barriers. Even the slightest touch can damage your car.
Yeah, normally you try to avoid hitting the wall, but
it's
sure.
more. It was more of a tap than a hit, but on this one, it looks like Toros Tunila is losing to Steven Askatkus. The gap has extended a little bit, so maybe he's already overdriving a little bit too much, and that's where you find yourself to start losing time rather than gaining. Again, really wide through the chase, hitting the grass, getting your car a little bit loose, and he lost further 3/10. So from chasing down Steven Askatkus, he found himself losing a little bit of more time to Steven Askatkus. On this previous lap time, he lost 4/10, almost full 4/10, and this time he was slower through all of the 3 sectors. But if you look closely at how Toros Tunila drives the car, it looks like he's just overdriving a little bit too much. Maybe he thinks that there's not enough time for him to try and overtake Steven Askatkus. Even if he gets him before the end, he'll have to be very smart to make that move possible. And Steven Askatkus was the driver who went into the pit lane later than Toros Tunila, so he has fresher tires.
Down the skyline they come. 15 minutes to go on the clock. I wonder where the race leader is, by the way, in relation to this. I think they'll make it to the line before that minute expires. And if they do, yeah. So that will be another 7 to go as the leader crosses the line.
Yep, he crosses the line now.
So 7 to go for Toros Tunila. Well, 7 to go for everyone, but Nani is pretty comfortable in the lead, 12 seconds ahead. Gustas Malkauskas as well, 15 seconds ahead of Steven Askatkus, so no real danger here. Just needs to get it to the end. But Toros Tunila has a shot at a podium, but the early catch-up that he was doing seems to have slowed quite a bit. Obviously, chasing a car, you get that wake from them. The front end doesn't stick as well as you want it to. And, well, this is what happens then sometimes.
And his tires are 6 minutes older. So he went into the pit lane 6 minutes earlier than Steven Askatkus did. So that's roughly 3 laps of a difference on those tires. Not sure if that makes a big a very big difference. In reality, still, the tires on the Porsche of car number 3 are slightly fresher. That might give a little bit more confidence for Steven Assetto, even though he's being chased down. He has plenty of experience. He had really good races in this season. I think he should be okay with that. And what we see on our screens, it just looks like it all depends on Tauras Tonila. If he's able to avoid mistakes or he's pushing it a little bit too hard. And that dictates the gap. Look again, he's clipping the walls, and that's not how it works, though he still managed to chase down on Steven Assetto. So maybe he's clipping the walls on the right points of the track. Took a completely different line into the elbow, to the dipper.
That's through Forrest's elbow, the left. Well, we've seen that a couple of times, especially a few laps ago when we saw Tauras Tonila make that huge gain. But again, huge gains, and now through the chase they come into the hard braking zone. And no move just yet, but Tauras Tonila getting closer and closer. He's going to try, and it looked like he was a bit more comfortable on that apex there, so hitting the lines a bit better. Tauras Tonila just showing his nose, seeing if he can make Steven Assetto make a mistake. That's the important thing for Tauras Tonila. Force him into an error. If you can do that, you can probably make the move for the lead.
Still plenty of time. Well, it looks like it looks a lot on the clock. One lap is pretty long. Not a lot of points on the track to make those moves possible, but we've seen Tauras Tonila make them on places where not a lot of drivers do those. So Tauras Tonila knows this track pretty well. He feels his car underneath him, even though it's a virtual car, and you couldn't say exactly that the driver feels the car underneath him. But if you're in your rhythm, that's definitely how it feels. And Tauras Tonila on a mission. Still, well, it will be really interesting to hear what happened to Tauras Tonila on those two moments of this race where he had to slow down dramatically and lose a lot of time. But he's there, he's pushing, a lot of confidence, using all the width of the track and sometimes a little bit too more. Look how twitchy the car is. He's just throwing around it into the corners and managing to keep it, and always sticking his nose into the Forrest's elbow corner. Just to remind Steven Assetto that he's there, and well,
Force your rival into a mistake. That's
yep.
We'll see if Steven Assetto breaks under pressure here, but Tauras Tonila, that's his best shot, because any move is risky. So trying to scare your opponent, or at least force him into a mistake, is your best course of action. Now, down into the braking zone to the final turn. Tauras Tonila actually making changes on his car. You can see the hand going down onto the wheel. That's the level of detail Assetto Corsa Competizione provides, showing his nose to the inside. So maybe just making a few adjustments on the brake balance, maybe a few adjustments on the ABS, maybe a few adjustments on the traction control. Being a bit more aggressive, because he needs to make that move somewhere.
Still plenty of time. He's confident. He got himself on the back. Chrissy Nani, did he clip the wall? He didn't lose a lot of time, but there's definitely, he lost 2.5 seconds on this run. There was definitely something happening with Chrissy Nani. Let's take a replay. Oh, he was in the trip.
Yep,
he
just the wall, and quite hard actually. We were saying he's comfortable in the lead. Maybe not so much. Gap down to 9.9, so the gap coming down. We'll see if it keeps coming down. Tauras Tonila off the road. Oh, he saved it. Wow. Wow. You don't see. I was about to say he's into the wall and done, but I guess not. So clip the wall coming through the left, and that is, yeah, onto the highlights reel for save of the season. Wow, you don't often say that somebody has made an incredible save at the top of the mountain here at Bathurst, but Toros Tunila did. Of course, losing time.
Well, roughly 1 second. Well, around
But
1
staying
second and
on track.
1/10. Yeah, but
Yep.
he stayed on track. I'm pretty sure he didn't receive
Change
any
of
damage.
underwear required
Yeah.
after the race.
Good news for Steven Assetto. He sees the gap going up. He gets more confidence. Now he knows that the rival behind doesn't make mistakes. He knows that Toros Tunila is kind of over the limit of his pace, trying to chase Steven Assetto down, but that's what should give the driver a little bit more calmness behind the wheel and just make him focus on what he's doing, looking less into the rear view mirror and definitely looking at the time remaining on the clock. Steven Assetto seems to be the calmer driver of these two. He was being chased down. He never changed his line. He didn't clip the wall. He just stayed there with it. And, well, that's what he needs to do till the end of this race. As Toros Tunila is, again, chasing down on Steven Assetto. So you can see that in the course of one corner, the gap can go down because...
Very Tamas, by the way, 0.4 of a second behind Jan Bruri. That's for 15th. But dropping.
Yep, 0.8 of a second. Mary Thomas, car 19. He didn't make any mistakes, so it looks like there's another battle on the racetrack for position number 15. Most of the other cars are basically on their way to the finish line because there's no time left in this race to make a lot of things change. That's Dave Spartronics, I believe, in the distance ahead of these two drivers battling for position. It became a little bit calmer after Toros Tunila made that beautiful save, as we already thought he was sending into the wall. He just shaved off quite a lot of time. It looks like Steven Assetto just made a small mistake under braking into turns 20-21. Chase section. As Gustas already said, he thinks that the chase corner is basically the last corner.
I think the chase is the super fast right.
Oh, okay.
I know it's the whole complex, but I like saying that the chase is the super fast right because it just sounds cool. The chase as they go for the right, but it's not really a corner in these cars. It's not been a corner for a while, so yeah. 0.8 of a second. This might actually have been positive for Toros Tunila, if I can kind of say it that way, because he now has the momentum. If he can make the move early, he can get the move done. Because sometimes you kind of just get stuck running behind someone, and you keep running behind, and you can't really make any move. But if you drop back and you go again, you've got that momentum if you're catching up quick.
So 5/10 lost on previous lap. Toros Tunila again. He's aggressive. He's confident, and that sometimes leads to small mistakes, but he's definitely really confident behind the wheel of his Porsche. He's currently fourth. He was leading the race. He has the pace. He won the pole position. He's not battling for the win in this race due to those issues that he had, but that doesn't mean that he's not thirsty for more points in this championship. Is he fighting for the championship? I'm not sure with the points system in it, to be exact. We have Shaun Clarke Racing in the lead. Simonas Urbanas is not in this race. I think that there is one round that can be dropped. Toros Tunila, he missed one race in this championship. So he's definitely going for points, and he needs as many of those as he can get to try and finish this championship on a higher note. The Dream to Drive team is currently fourth in the championship standings, and he wants to get his team a little bit higher up the order in the standings. The battle continues. Gap is down to 0.4, and as soon as Tauras Tunila comes a little bit too close to the back end of Steven Askatkus, well, it looks like he doesn't have it correctly in count that he will lose the front end of the car as you get a little bit too close to your rival. So you have to adapt to the driving, and if you to your driving style, and if you push as hard as you do while being a little bit further down your rival, you might make those mistakes. So again, losing the back end of the car and being a little bit too close.
That damage probably having an effect on Tauras's car.
Maybe that's damage, maybe that's the downforce that's coming from the downforce of Steven Askatkus' car. He's in dirty air, so that might be a factor. But it looks like Steven Askatkus just made a mistake, because down from 1 second, the gap is now down to 0.5 of a second, and he's in the slipstream. Into the chase. That's as close as he got in this whole race.
The outside goes Tauras Tunila, trying to make that move. I think no, this will be 2 to go. To the outside, once again, Tauras Tunila into the final braking zone. Doesn't get the move done just yet. To the inside, and now he makes the switch, but Steven Askatkus now holds the inside. Tauras Tunila again to the outside. Can he make it stick? Now he's going to try and cross that line, but no, not enough. Because Steven Askatkus was very smart to get the car really slowed down on the apex, but maybe not enough, because now they're going to come side by side all the way down the straight. And into the right-hander they'll come. Who'll be the bravest on the brakes? On the outside, Tauras Tunila, no, has to back out of it, but Steven Askatkus runs wide, and Tauras Tunila up into the podium positions. Finally gets the move done. Oh, that was difficult for him. He really, Steven Askatkus made him work, but just running a bit wide, just a bit too late on the brakes, and, well, that's what happens sometimes.
That was beautiful. We have problems on the racetrack. Jan Brewery running really slow.
Yep, but Tauras Tunila really did a good job. Steven Askatkus also did a great job trying to hold off, and, well, in the end, it didn't really work. But he made Tauras really fight for it and spend 20 minutes trying to overtake. So hats off to Steven Askatkus, holding off the man who was on pole, by the way, for this race.
Klopkina, some sort of issues around the final lap has started. Klopkina's really slow. I think he had a contact with the barrier, so he just tries to stay on the racetrack and finish off this race. He'll think he'll start the final lap as he'll cross the line, because Chris Hinani definitely is on his final lap of this race. He started second. He was second for a little bit before Tauras Tunila with the Dream to Drive car team had issues. Chris Hinani driving for the International Racing Team, bringing precious points to his team, but I think they missed too many rounds in this championship to try and be in higher places. I don't see them actually on the overall scoreboard, so looks like they just came into the championship on the final round and they enjoying it thoroughly. Currently being in the lead. Final lap, Steven Askatkus, right on the tail of Tauras Tunila. Soldukas and Samulones. Oh, Samulones, did he run out of fuel? He's really slow.
But no, I think he just doesn't want to do another lap. I think so.
Yep,
I don't.
yep, exactly. Maybe he's out of fuel. Leader will be coming through shortly.
Or
So,
he's just tired and doesn't
no,
want to
there goes the
resume.
leader, there goes Mantas Simulionis. You were right on that. He didn't want to make another lap. Maybe he does not have enough fuel, clocking us with issues running around the circuit. Gustas Malakauskas, well, Kristinani, he just won the race.
Yep, Kristinani takes the win. We were so focused on Samuelanes going very slowly that we actually missed that. Gustas Malakauskas takes second place. He had a sniff when Kristinani made that mistake and ran into the wall, but not enough. Toros Tunila takes third place. Difficult race for him, but very, very strong recovery. Stevanas Katkus, great drive by him, holding off Toros Tunila for a long, long time. Matas Mitkaučius finishes in fifth. Alex Leaf will take sixth position as somebody goes off really, really wide. But Alex Leaf will take sixth after we saw him run completely off the road through McPhillamy Park. And this is Gediminas Krikštolaitis. He took the fastest lap of the race, but he had to make a second pit stop. Don't know for what, but he had to do that.
It was
Cross
penalty.
the line.
It was penalty.
Right.
Yep.
So seventh place for Gediminas Krikštolaitis. Maxime Jordi will take eighth if things stand. He does have Marini behind him, but I don't think he'll be close enough to make that move. Justinas Saldukas is in 10th spot. All of them, by the way, guaranteed a top 10 because Mantas Simulionis, who was 11th, has crossed the line a lap down.
Yep, so Justinas Saldukas will round out our top 10 finish of the final race in the GT3 Team Championship on the World Sim Series platform. And that's gonna round out 12 weeks of racing. We have races every second Sunday, and we will have to wait what new championships will be organized on the platform of the World Sim Series. Yep.
Very interesting championship. A lot of great battles with the GT3 cars and beautiful track to end the season with. Thank you everyone for tuning in for this whole year. It's been a pleasure. Have a nice weekend and rest of the weekend, and good night.
Yep, have a good one, and hear you in 1 week time on the final round of the MX5 Championship. It was a pleasure.